Now, when I say be bored, I mean exactly what I'm saying. You need to learn how to be bored with your thoughts. Today, with the growth of social media, such as TikTok, Instagrams, anything that gives you that rush of dopamine, people are forgetting, they're losing their creative thoughts. People are forgetting how to do simple things, such as watch a movie, watch an educational video. Sorry, that sounds a little cringy, but you get what I'm trying to say. When I say be bored, I mean just embrace your inner thoughts. When was the last time you had actually been bored out of your mind and out of that you had some fun with your imagination, whether it was your creativity that was started sparking or you just started diving into things within your own memory, whether that was something you researched in the past, an old memory you had with some friends or family. When was the last time you really did that? And then just think about it like this. Have you ever wondered why the best thoughts come to you when you're in bed or when you're showering, perhaps? Well, that's because you're kind of just bored. You're letting your mind freely think. And that's what boredom allows you to do. With how TikTok and how basically any of these short media, like short forms of content, what these basically do is it constantly stimulates your brain with this rush of dopamine, you know, and that doesn't give your brain enough time to think and just relax. That's why when you're just in bed, your brain is just finally beginning to just relax and calm down, which is why all these thoughts are rushing to your brain because it's like, oh, wait, I can actually do something myself instead of just being on autopilot. That's why the best thoughts always come when you're bored or when you're lying in bed because you're letting your thoughts freely flow within your mind. Just think of it like this, okay? Something that I did at the beginning of this journey that I'm still somewhat improving on, so I'm just speaking from my own experience. I just practiced staring at my ceiling or a wall. Or what you can do is you could also go outside and just stare, just feel the breeze, just notice the things around you. And what this does is it allows your brain to just freely wander. Like like I remember one time when I sat outside and I was just I was just in the zone. It was like a form of meditation, I guess. I was just all these thoughts were coming to mind, all my interests were coming back to me, like what I really like to do. And that's how I rediscovered these forms of sorry if you hear that, these forms of education, these forms of literature, like philosophy. I rediscovered my love for that, history, like stuff like that. I was able to, because I was bored, I was able to remember that I actually have a liking to these things. And because of this boredom, it helped rekindle who I am deep down. And it's just a person who's constantly curious in these certain fields. And deep down, I believe everyone in the right, how do I say this? Deep down, everyone is curious in something, which is why I recommend you don't necessarily have to take it to the extreme of just staring at a ceiling like me, but just be bored. Just like, for example, I'll just try to make this as vivid as possible. Okay, when you're just laying down doing nothing or whatever you're doing to just be bored and not do anything, just think of the first thought that comes to your mind. Why are you thinking that way? Why was that your first thought when you were bored? Was it, when is this going to be over? If you're asking yourself when is this going to be over, that just shows that you might be a little fried, but it's okay. You can fix that. It takes time, but it's okay. So just think, why am I bored? Or let's say, let's just say you remember something like me, like, oh, why did this war happen? That sparks an interest, that sparks like a memory of why you were interested in this certain field or this certain topic, which allows you to remember, just like I said, it allows you to like somewhat remember who you are or your interest. And it's like a really good feeling once you remember that, because then it's like you've rediscovered this new thing and then you're like in love with it again. Like I'm speaking from personal experience myself. Like I've like never been much of a reader, but I've always had a specific liking towards philosophy and history, and I was a big history fan in like freshman year of high school and philosophy in freshman year of high school. It was until then I realized I had a problem with social media and TikTok, and I just forced myself to be bored, that I remembered I had these interests, I had these likings, which is why I picked up these books and I started reading on these articles or these books again, so I could start learning more. And I believe that learning is part of human nature, because if we're not learning something, we're not really evolving. We're not using our brains to the fullest capacity if we're not using them, obviously. Now, there is like I said, just you can always fight the urge to be bored, but if you can't even fight the urge to be bored, at least try removing some of these distractions within your life, whether that's uninstalling these apps, setting limitations. What I did personally, I tried setting limitations, but that didn't help, so I just completely uninstalled them, and that's helped me a lot more, I'll admit. But if you're not willing to take it that far, then just try to set limitations for yourself so that you're able to take that next step. I'm not telling you that I'm not an expert, I'll admit. I'm just going off of my own personal experience and off of some research I did myself. But how dopamine is, like, as many of you may know already, it's a self-pleasure, like, chemical that happens in your brain whenever you get that feeling of completion or that feeling of satisfaction, which is why whenever we're scrolling through social media or TikTok, whenever we finish a video, we're always on to the next one immediately. That it rejuvenates that dopamine and it spikes constantly. That's why when you take a little mental break from it, it's like, whoa, like this is different. You're not your body's not exactly going away from dopamine, but it's more of like giving your mind a break, you know? It's like this. Think about when you're working out and you're like mid set and you're getting tired. That's basically what your brain is telling you, but it's always getting replenished with dopamine, which is why you don't feel tired. But then as soon as you set that weight down, or when you set that phone down, that dopamine, that muscle, or your brain in this case, it starts to relax, and it's like, whoa, okay, I can actually breathe, I can process what's going on, I can grow and develop. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Now, of course, like I stated, I'm not no expert, but this is what I'm going off of, just off of my own personal experience. This is a very different video compared to the past videos I've done, but I feel like it's right that I make a video like this, because it just it feels because being bored has helped me rediscover a lot about myself, and I believe it can at least help someone out there. You know, even though I'm like a small channel and I don't even know who's gonna watch this, but it's like I know that being bored has helped me in a way that helps me just relearn who I am as a person. Another example I can give off of how being bored has been creative or unique in a way was, think of a little child, when you take away a child's toy, or in modern days their iPad or their tablet or just their TV for whatever, think about what's the first thing they do. They start using their brain to create these scenarios, their imagination to create these scenarios, so then they're not as bored. If anything, they're more entertained using their imagination. Now, of course, it may seem a little crazy that they're talking to themselves, but it's because their brain is active. Their brain is able to just, they're actually able to use their brain. They're able to, help their brain develop because they're using their imagination. They're using their brain. And in a way, it's similar to how people or adults or teenagers can, how do I say this? Can use boredom to help them, because as it stated in my example just now, boredom helps these little children, get out of these bored situations by using their imagination. Now, we can also use our boredom to help improve ourselves, whether that's rediscovering old hobbies, rediscovering old interests, or discovering new interests or things that you'd want to look into. As someone, I did some reflecting today, and I realized like I really do have a liking towards some songs that are specifically playing on the piano. So I plan on actually learning the piano, but you know, if I'm gonna get there, there's only one way to find out, and that's time away from my phone and time actually learning the piano instead of just saying I'm gonna do it and then not taking any action. People people say that, you know, a lot of people say there's a lot of people that state that they're going to do something, but they end up not doing it. You know, you could say you're gonna make $1 million, but you're not gonna take the necessary steps to make $1 million. You could say you're gonna get a six-pack abs, but you're not gonna take the necessary steps to get the six-pack abs. It's like that, you know. There are a lot of people in modern society where they're just their words are so empty now, which is why I felt like I needed to start this journey myself, because I don't want to be part of that majority where my words are empty. As someone who wants to be a man with some value, a man who has something to offer, I know that my word has to mean something, and my actions will show that my words mean something. So, this is a very different video than usual, but just be bored. Learn to be bored. That's number one. Learn how to be bored. And then you can rediscover, you can reinvent yourself as a person. You know, it's gonna be uncomfortable at first, but that's like with everything new. You're gonna always be uncomfortable when you're trying something new. But with this discomfort that you're facing, you're gonna face some sort of growth. And I think that's the most important part. If you're trying to get better, you want to face some growth. Okay? That's literally it. So, listen to today. I'm not gonna go over what I did today because I feel like this is I've been really eager to make a video about this, but I'll talk more about what I did today in tomorrow's video. So yeah, learn to be bored, everyone. Thank you.